Right. Hello, everybody that's joined me. I'm Sharon Ann Lovegrove. I'm an evolutionary midwife and mental fitness coach. And I help professional women with imposter syndrome to reclaim back their life, release agonizing regret, and resume their destiny calling with power, purpose, and grace. So, how to crack the code on your imposter achiever? That's the talk for today. And I wonder how many of you have told yourself something like, I will only be happy when. Put your hands up, put something in the comments. Let me know what you've had. Have you ever had this? I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I've got this qualification. I'll be happy when I've made this cake. I'll be happy when I've done this. And we preface a lot of our happiness on this when moment, right? And I want you to know that this is one of the most insidious aspects of the judge saboteur. And I spoke the other day about the judge having, we judge ourselves, we judge others, but we have this judge of circumstance, this judge of when. And the judge of when is really very much part of the pattern that runs for the hyperachiever. So, why is that? Give me some ideas how you feel that in the comments. Let me know. It'd be really nice. Because, you may not realize that there are many, many good reasons why this would be the case. Why would, the hyperachiever have this thing of how, I will be happy when. But first, I want to just remind you a little bit about imposter syndrome and really just kind of be key in the idea that imposter syndrome is not about not being smart, not about not being capable. It's not about any of those things. In fact, it is the fact that you are capable and yet you can't see your value. And what happens is that you only base your sense of essence, your sense of value on what it is that you do, rather than what it is that you are, all right? And this is really key because for women, what we do is not necessarily the same kind of model as our feminine self. The feminine self is all inclusive, including ourself. But the masculine side, the masculine part of our side, that part that lies to us, that part that has the potential to persecute us, that part is all about status and all about us believing we are that because of our status. So we're kind of moving into a masculine paradigm and not a feminine paradigm. We're moving more to the weakened masculine that's within us instead of the masculine or that part of ourself, that wise part of ourself that is the divine masculine, yeah, that has compassion and love, all of those things. So why does that happen? Well, we know that with imposter syndrome, it's because people have disconnected from their deeper truth, okay? They don't know how to validate themselves as being, as just a being. That's the premise from the start. What they don't realize that they don't have to do anything. They just have to be who they are. They don't have to be anything to be loved, to be worthwhile, to be satisfactory, yeah? That their essence in and of itself is perfect. Because that essence was the decision you made to be before you came to the earth. When that first spark, that first moment, and Abraham Hicks, I was listening to her this morning, and she was basically saying, yeah, there's this joy that we're coming here to manifest more of the creator. And by manifesting more of the creator, we unleash more light, right? But the thing is, when we come to the earth, we forget who we are. And the reason is for us to work it out. Yeah, us to work it out, us to have these travels. And if you're struggling, it's because you've done a lot of the work already. And now's your time to really clear a lot of the shit out. So let's just get into the kind of a little bit about what goes on for the hyperachiever. So the hyperachiever, basically is what we would regard as the superwoman or superhero. And she sees herself as the savior, right? She builds her self-esteem and her self-validation in not just about saving people, but it's how many she can do, how many. So her big thing is about how many tasks she can do well, all right? So if she's at work, she's going to take on work of everybody else and do the parties and do the work that any man wouldn't be able to do and do more and more and more and more. Okay. And because she's learned to do this so well, yeah, what's happened is that she's pretty good at it. And so what often happens is anything that is like those moments of pausing, she feels a little odd. She feels odd because she's not kind of doing, because that's part of her addiction. And will she ask for help? No. She'll never ask for help. And worse, this is what even is worse, is that if help is given, if someone sort of says, well, you can't do this alone, so I'm going to help you, all right? Or if you're working and you're doing something and you're taking ownership of something and someone comes in and helps, you will discount your work. You will discount it because you didn't do it alone. You didn't do it alone. So this is kind of like the hyperachiever, yeah? So she'll invalidate it, yeah? And so this becomes this constant needing to do so much, because it is the multiplicity of the tasks that makes her feel good, yeah, makes her feel good. And that is her addiction. That is her addiction. So being seen to do many things is what she really prides herself on. And that's her driver. That's her driver. So I wonder if any of you have identified with that. I mean, I know a lot of mothers, even though they maybe even stay at home mothers, oh my God, they compete against each other. Yeah. And this is just stepping into that other role of the weakened masculine. But the interesting thing is, and I wanted to put something in here, which was about the addiction. And I have a lovely definition of addiction by Ken Keystone from his book, Handbook for Higher Consciousness. And it says, and I just love it. It says, an addiction is any desire that we have that sets us if it is not satisfied. Isn't that a nice way to say it? We are concerned about power, about sensation, about status, and we're caught up in it. And it is emotionally driven. And it is the emotionally driven way to control the world in order to satisfy the addiction. So when we're focused on an outcome such that our whole happiness depends on it, our self-validation depends on it, relies on it, we are, guess what? Designed to fail. We're designed to fail. It will fail. Why? Because everything's changeable. Nothing is fixed. Nothing stays solid. Everything is changeable. And so when we try and control in a way that is all about doing all these things so that we can hold the control, the balls are going to drop at some time, literally. And if we've developed some man balls, we're in trouble, all right? Because we're not meant to have them. We've got internal ones called ovaries. Okay, so what happens? Why? Why is that? Put in the chat. Put in the chat. Let me know. Yeah. Why is that? Well, I think it's because we get so stressed trying to do it all that we forget to live in the moment. We're so busy trying to do it all and be the best. And so we get to the goal. We get there. We get, like, for example, when I managed to get my first class pass in psychology, it was effortless. I'm going to really tell you, it really wasn't as onerous as I would expect it to do, because it was easy. And because it was easy, I invalidated it. All right. So when I got my first class pass, I didn't tell a soul except my partner. I didn't shout it on Facebook like everybody else was. I didn't think it was worth shouting about, because guess what? It had been relatively easy for me. And then just for a short while, I was okay. And then I was on to the next thing. All right. I was the course after course after course after course after course after course person. And I know that I'm still holding a few courses, but I'm not doing any more until I've completed a few of my own now. This is it. But I had to realize one thing. And this was, kind of when I started to look at when I was doing some work in my final year, where I was spending time doing basically looking at sex workers. And it was really interesting, really looking at the biology of that, really looking at the biology during my MSc of adolescence and the changes that go on in the brain there, particularly during the time of adolescence. And I really started to realize why I had been given this opportunity to learn all of these things was because it isn't necessarily our fault that we land in this position. Because traditionally, women are applauded. Yeah, they're applauded for being highly capable, right? Women are applauded at doing so many tasks. And it doesn't help that biologically we are predisposed to doing this, because estrogen is one of the main receptors, probably the key receptor in all our sensory systems. So we have this diffuse network that is triggered very quickly in comparison to testosterone, which actually has different links. And so what happens is we are diffuse and we pay attention to a lot, whereas men tend to be more structured. Not every man and not every woman is like that, but in general, depending on the amount of estrogens and testosterones that are affected. So as I said, estrogen is one of the key hormones that are involved in all the senses. So learning to be good at these sort of things means as much more than what we should, all right? But also, we start liking the fact that we are good. We start liking that we can do all these things, and we start developing a kind of an alter ego, thinking, wow, I am great. I can do this. I can do that. But the crazy thing is underneath, we can't fail. We have to keep the face. And it gets agonizing. So, as I said, what drives women to compellingly keep that and take on more and more and more, take on the pride of being a workaholic or a string of qualifications like me, definitely suffer FOMO. I have to really work When I experience FOMO, I have to be doing some internal kinds of exercises. I call them ICAs, intentional committed actions, so that I can bring and regulate myself down. I stop in that space between the stimulus and the response, and really spending a lot of time just staying there before I make a decision. So yeah, if we don't do that, it starts to become unhealthy, restrictive, disastrous. So I'm guessing might be really good to just kind of go back a little bit more and look at what is it? What sits underneath this? What sits underneath this? And I'd love you to put it in the comments there. What sits underneath for you? So if you had to go, right, I like to do all of these things. And if that kind of comes up and you go, okay, so what's underneath that? What would happen if I couldn't do that, right? And then what would happen under that? And what would happen under that? Until you get to the bit that you don't want because you're avoiding it so much, which is the discomfort of the truth. And I believe that's when we kind of hear ourselves say, we're not enough. We're not enough. And when we really hear that I'm not enough, and we get to that point, then we have to really sit in that space and kind of get to know some deeper truths here. And the deeper truth is you are always enough. But as a child, when you felt that lack of connection, that lack of love, that lack of belonging, that lack of someone making you bigger, making you more, making you and just adoring you as they should have, as you deserved to have. Yeah, that doesn't make anyone egocentric. What it does is it makes people feel big enough and full enough in themselves that they then give more. They then give more. So, yeah, the pattern of being not enough, when you learn this, what you do is you start to please others. You start to do this kind of thing of service. And yes, you are hyper achieving, but you've got this one part that's busy feeling good that you can do that because you know you're damn good at it. And then there's these other parts that's chronically feeling you have to, because you've got to keep filling. You've got to keep filling. Okay. But the thing is, what happens when you are giving in this kind of way, you're giving from the wrong place. And often you're not giving what people really want. You are giving what you think they need. All right. So initially, when someone wants you to do well at school and they want you to do this and they want you to do that, which is kind of like happened for me, I got first. I was really good at all sorts of things, but the stress of constantly being pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed was really hard. And I was too scared to fail. I was too scared to be looked at in a way that would make me be less than. And the worst thing, it does tap into those traditional roles. Yeah, those traditional roles of being praised for doing everything. So we kind of smash a few beliefs together, and that then forms our addictive behavior. The addiction is born, okay? That saboteur is born. Yeah, we birth it. We literally birth it. Well, I suppose men don't birth it, but they probably do something else with it. But we birth it. We birth it, which is ironic. So I thought I might just give you a poem that I wrote, and I have actually posted it before in my LinkedIn, but I thought I would read it anyway, because it was a poem that when I started to really sit deeply and look at my patterns and look at the pain and the anguish and the hurt and what it was, and looking to see how I had contributed my bit. How had I created this? How had I created it? So, but I had to look at it and I had to see it first, and it wasn't very nice. But so here it is. Here's the poem. And it felt and it reflected throughout my life. Okay. So I was chronically self-sacrificing, doing for others, only to have them keep coming, asking for more. I never got thanked. They took advantage of me, but I still kept an open door. Must do more than others to get recognition and success. So I chased qualifications. I never stopped. I was a jack of all trades, a master of none, because I restlessly flitted, always on the hop. There was never enough time, enough money, resources, love for myself. And there was no safety net to keep me secure. I burdened myself. I took responsibility for taking responsibility for happiness of others. But I didn't feel this at my core. I didn't nourish myself. I didn't complete myself. I just depleted over and over. I didn't eat. I kept grabbing satisfaction wherever I could. But it was never enough to fill me up. There was never enough to go around. I was always starving, always taking crumbs, because the desire to belong was so strong. And that was what it was like, recognizing I did this for the connection. I did this because I didn't want to be left alone. I did this. I was happy to take those scraps. Yeah. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. But it was a truth. And the thing is, only when we get to the truth, only till we get to that moment of feeling that deep inside us and really looking at it, only in that moment of truth are we at the point of action. Until we get to that point, you won't take action. You really won't. And that's the truth too. So, where are you on that scale? And I want you to know that even though what I've told you is awful, there is a bigger problem. And the bigger problem is that when we run those saboteur behaviors, we are depleting our ability to listen to our wise sovereign, our wise inner voice, our sage, if you like. And we feed those saboteurs and we starve our wise self. So we feed the addiction and we starve the fruits. We starve the flower or the bloom or the blossom. That is us, the essence that is us. Because where attention goes, energy flows. We know that, okay? And that means that when you're attending, always in that part of the brain, that is where your saboteurs are, the stress response, the emotional center where the emotional body is, yeah? That means we feed that, right? We grow more neurons there. We get more blood going there. We get, that's why the neurons can grow there. We release more chemicals because as we start to bind, neurons that bind together, wire together, bind together. So that means we release more chemicals. So we bind more, yeah? And that means that the muscles of our sage is weak. Our sovereign is crying. She can't get through. She just can't get through. Have you ever had a situation where you've had a friend talk, and you're trying to tell her, and nothing is sticking. Nothing is getting there. This is like what happens to you. Yeah, this is like what happens to you. But you know, the crazy thing is, it doesn't take long to shift the balance, because our brain, remember I said the brain has those three main things the brain likes to change. It prefers to stay the same, yeah, but it likes to change. So that's what we really got to keep up, huh? It likes to change. We also know that where the mind and the body is in discoherence, the saboteurs run. So when we feel stressed, overwhelmed, depleted, angry, you know, all of those kind of things, disgust, despair, any of those things, guess what? Our heart is going to be going crazy, all right? It's going crazy. So that means we're out of coherence. So when the heart and mind is in coherence, when it's as one, yeah, when we do that, then all of a sudden we shift the paradigm from one side of the brain to the other. And that then makes it easier, much, much easier to just get back on track. So much easier. And it means very, very quickly, because the brain likes to change, it's so much more excitable if you do the opposite. So, well, another one. And then the third one that we have to always work with is the idea that all our beliefs create the field. They create the field through which we look. So if we understand that, then if we just manipulate what's in the field, we change our feeling. We change the feeling. And if we keep doing that, well, everything changes. Because the moment we can manipulate, we know that we have power, and we know in that moment we can be happy. Remember, happiness is how a powerful person interrupts negative, displaces it, and installs new experiences super successfully. Wax off, wax in, wax off, wax in, wax off, wax in. Please be the Jedi. Please be the Karate Kid. Please be the magician. Please be the sorceress. Wax off, wax in, wax off, wax in. Yeah, you can turn it towards you. You can turn it away. You can bring it in. It doesn't matter. These actually are very alchemical movements to actually do that, because this is how we work. This is how we become the creator. Okay, so excellent. I can see that we're almost at time. So you need the power. You need the mental power, the mental muscle to be strengthened in order for this to happen. And that means we have to do the three things. We have to do something that's going to build that mental muscle. So we're going to use that part of neurons that fire together, wire together. We're going to use that part that says our brain likes to change and it wants to stay this, our brain likes to change. And if it prefers to stay the same, well, guess what? We're going to give it a new pattern, right? And then the coherence one, which is all to do with the fact that if our heart and mind's in coherence, then everything's okay. So how do we deal with the saboteurs? We bring ourselves back into coherence. We bring our thoughts to our heart, and we tell our heart everything is okay. And we tell our heart it must lead the way, because the heart is the only way that we can actually get things done. When we start resonating with our heart, then we feel calm. Yeah. And then the last one, in making sure that you create the reality. Yeah. You shift the reality the way you need to be as the creator. So build the mental muscle. Yeah. And you guessed it. As you build it, you get stronger. You get much more power. You get easier in being able to deal with things. And I know some of you are here already have experienced that. So please, you can put that in the chat. Let me know. Okay. So yes, you need to build a power. You need powerful lights on. And that's where I work. I work in helping people build the mental muscle so that you can withstand those compelling addictions, those compelling needs of FOMO. Oh, I need to go do this. Or, oh, I need to take on another task to help somebody else. Oh, I'm going to feel bad if I don't. All that guilt stuff. Right. If you want help with that, well, I can help you take back control. Okay. And I can help you deal with that feeling so that you start to walk your destiny path with peace, love, and joy, in purpose, power, and grace. And if anything of that has resonated for you, and you'd like to have a conversation about that, how I might help you, I'll put a link underneath the live in a minute. Thank you for being with me today. And I would love to hear those comments, please. I really, really, really would. So thank you very, very, very much. And have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.